So when we're talking about uh, the individual and the individual's connection with the environment, the book talks about this relationship, at least the base relationship, the um, primitive relationship, if you will, this carnivalesque body, this body of interactions and exchanges with the social and natural environment. The carnivalesque body sees openings and protrusions which connect us with other bodies in the world around us. This is much associated with the lower stratum of the body, that low brow, if you will, primitive, if you will. This is represented by an ecological body that forever interacts and exchanges with natural systems. This perspective is out of sync with the Christian construction of man being above nature. The classical body is represented by a separation from society and nature, not an interconnection. The orifices are not protruding, they're hidden from view or controlled via rituals that de-emphasize their openness. This idea of performing basic bodily functions no longer out in the open. Somehow these basic bodily functions are no longer seen as natural, if you will, especially if we are to be seen apart from the natural world. And this, of course, focuses on the upper stratum, which is valued at higher than the lower stratum. And it results in this idea that this ecological connection between the social and natural environment is somehow to be seen as shameful. This is the last thing we as an intellectual individual within society would want to do, would want to accept. This idea of nature as offensive, we find this evidenced in the idea of politeness. We eat with cutlery, we eat with our mouths closed. Our homes are, we strive very hard to keep our homes clean. And ultimately, our bodily acts are confined to closed private spaces. All of which is fundamentally different than what happens in the natural world. We also find signs of a social hierarchy. So this idea of individual success, striving to be the elite, where you separate yourself from the common people. One of those ways of separation or expressing that separation is a separation from nature and bodily functions. Those highbrow individuals don't act that way. They don't act like the natural beasts. They are above that. Some concepts and important ideas on balancing ecological selves and the ecological community. We do things as a community. So Concern for sanitation and medical intervention is not a byproduct of individualism. That is a byproduct of communalism. We as a community must control where we poop and pee. And if we do not, what we find out is that the environment that we are relying on turns against us. And we see that at a community level, and we respond in kind. This image of the body and the ecological, the separation between the body and the ecological world is not purely Western phenomenon. We find elites all over the world in all forms of organization, all forms of economy. But what we really need to do is find a sense of balance between the carnivalesque and the classical bodies. And social changes suggest a connection between environmental awareness and bodily awareness might just be a place to start. These social changes suggest a broadening connection between the environmental awareness of individuals and the bodily awareness. We now know that certain things that we cannot see in water might hurt us. And ensuring that we have clean enough water to drink, which is essential to us, and how that impacts our body is essential to our long-term longevity and our quality of life. So understanding how the environment impacts the body. And when we start thinking like that, we're starting to embed ourselves back into the natural environment. We're starting to accept the fact that we are not completely disconnected. When we talk about environmental domination, of course, gender is a driving force. It's no coincidence that it is Mother Earth. We rape and abuse and destroy Mother Earth. Some other common metaphors: virgin forests, the fertility of soil. Once again, the abuse of the environment is raping the land. And when we really do a doozy on the environment, what we tend to do is say, oh, don't worry about it. Mother Nature will clean it up. So you can see how we have constructed the environment as a female. And we know how in a patriarchal society, how females have been treated. And it's no surprise to see these male-dominated institutions who have socially constructed the earth as a female dominating it as well. That leads to this ecology of patriarchy, or this ideological link between domination of nature and the domination of women. As a reminder, patriarchal ideas pervade our thinking about society and the environment, and they use the same mind and culture to understand both. We tend to construct women as being closer to nature than men. How do we do this? Well, women they're emotional. They respond to their natural biological realities. Men are more rational, and we can control ourselves, unlike women. Those are just some of the ways that men construct this relationship. Some traditions suggest that nature is female and females are therefore more natural. As I said, Mother Earth. We also look to the ecology of patriarchy because women are associated with the realm of reproduction. And they're also associated with the domestic sphere because of this connection to the realm of reproduction, as if men play no part in this whole realm of reproduction. These are socially constructed roles. So if women are associated with the domestic sphere and the private sphere, then men are associated with the production of the public sphere. That being the realm of business and rationality. Women stay home and do women things. Men go out into the work world and do men things. Once again, these are socially constructed roles that have been used for so long that we sometimes think that they're actually natural. And we always have to remember when we're talking about gender dissociations, we are implying a clear hierarchy with men on the top. Ecofeminism is a response to this patriarchal world that men have created and explores links between the domination of women and the domination of the environment. Ecofeminists are arguing that domination of the environment originates together with social domination of all kinds. It's common for socially dominated groups to be linked with nature, or the lower class groups being viewed as primitive. We've talked about this a little bit earlier. And this is maybe another time to remind you that feminism itself, whether it's ecofeminism or just straight up feminism, has always been about equality and the eradication of oppression and social domination of all kinds. Feminism itself tends to get pigeonholed as a women's movement, but that's really not what they were talking about. They were not saying just women should get rights. They were saying that we as human beings should have certain inalienable rights. Not we black folks, not we white folks, not we men, not we women, but we humans. A key tenet to ecofeminism is that the cultural climate of domination has been built on dualisms, which are morally charged, oppositional categories with little gray area in between that deny the dependency of each upon the other. Men versus women instead of humans. These dualisms interlock into a larger cultural system of domination. Some other examples: culture versus nature, reason versus nature, male versus female, mind versus body. And in each dichotomy, the first member of pairs dominates over the second. Male versus female. Male wins.